of generations of different the use of technologies. And according to the Organization of Development and Economy, OECD, it has opened 18 million jobs, and it has moved a lot of the country's jobs in 2015. Brazil has a lot to bet for the development with 20% of the biodiversity of the world. 12% and 18.5 million square kilometers of forests. And the challenge is to aggregate this different differences that we have in competitive differences as well. This is an initiative from CNI, the Industry National Confederation, and also the International Chinese Confederation. And we, in this adequate adoption of technology and industrial processes, this encounter is going to count with international and national representatives of bioeconomy with a strategy of development for Brazil and the world, considering the new generation and competition for the industry. And here we have the textile industry representative Fernando Pimentel and the online representatives Robson Braga de Andrade, the president of the mixed parliamentary representative Alex Fontaine, and the chief of the European delegation Inácio Ibanez, and the minister of China Jin Hongju. We're going to see an institutional video from CNI. When you imagine the world, well, how do you see it? Have you ever thought about what needs to be done today for it to be better tomorrow? How the new generations are going to write their own history? It's necessary to prepare young people for the challenges of the world with environments that stimulate innovation. The industry sees the present with this look for the future, with better productivity, with better competitiveness, with better jobs and more jobs. And it works in the basic and professional education with innovative methodologies. It invests in security and health for professionals and their environment of production. Where many see only machines, the industry sees new jobs and a better generation of income and a better economy. It believes that research is more than an investment, and it knows that it needs more better professionals for true changes to happen, and it defends innovation and the resources to be better used, and that the revolutions get out of the paper both in the public and private sector. That is how CNI, SASI, and SENAI work together for the Brazilian industry, for it to be more competitive, innovative, global, and sustainable. Because doing it now is putting in your hands today the future that you desire tomorrow. And for the opening of the Bioeconomy Forum, we invite CNI President Robson Braga. It's a pleasure to have you here again in this event in such a relevant subject such as this. Thank you very much. Good morning. It's great to have you here with us as a presenter in this important forum. I would like to greet all of you, and it's a pleasure for CNI to be here doing this partnership with institutions, with ambassadors in this encounter. So I would like to thank the participation of my friend Fernando Pimentel, that is the president of APID. I would also like to greet our great leader from the Chamber of Deputies, House of Representatives Alex Fontaine, and also Inácio Ibanez, and also the ambassador Hong Jun, that represents the Popular Chinese Republic, which is a great partner of Brazil in all of the areas of economy, in all of the different areas of technology and industry. I would also like to greet all of the authorities that are going to be here with us. Welcome all. Brazil has a vocation of being a leader for bioeconomics, and we have agroflorests, and it detains 12% of the water, of the drinkable water, potable water, and it has 20% of the living species that are known, and it's the owner of the greatest biodiversity of the planet. Besides that, we have an agro industry that is very productive, very efficient, and an industrial sector that is innovative and with modern technology. Our challenge right now is to transform our unquestionable advantages when compared to others and gains of competitiveness that can help in the sustainable development and generating better income for the Brazilian people. It's fundamental for this, for us to invest more in innovation, science, technology, education of quality for all levels. We need to also define a national policy with better rules, with clear objectives and better instruments that can offer legal safety and motivate people in these areas of business, promising areas of business. And our true biodiversity, the Brazilian biodiversity, depends on the definition of a better governance so that it can coordinate the efficiency of the companies, the academic sector, and all of the other sectors of society. Another action that is important is the strengthening of the operation between the centers of knowledge and companies to make it easier the production of products and processes that can attend the market needs. Our path is long, but Brazil is advancing a lot in this area. Our legal framework since 2016 was decisive for the reduction of bureaucracy of access of the genetic heritage of Brazil. It establishes rules for the use and the shared use of the biodiversity products. So in this ratification of this instrument, it will stimulate the conservation of the natural resources, especially in the Amazon region, and it's going to value our country in the world. With the confirmation of this agreement, Brazil will have the right to vote in the concession of international rules and the sharing of the resources and the use of the resources, and is going to expand Brazilian influence in the global agenda. This protocol of Nagoya is going to help Brazil to improve its business environment and the insertion of our country around the world, because it represents a positive sign for the trade between Mercosur and the European Union, and for the entry of Brazil in the Organization of the Development and Economic Help, OECD. The industry has all of the conditions to be a protagonist in this area. It is an industry that conducts all of the actions that are based on the biodiversity with biofuels, and also for the medications, cosmetics, and different chemical products, bio inputs, and so many others. So that is why we need to get ready to take advantage of the sustainable use of our products with an area that is going to be projected inside the OECD that is going to represent almost 3% of the GDP in the country in the next 10 years. The bioeconomy can be an efficient strategy for Brazil to reach a consistent growth and protect the environment and to highlight itself in the leadership of the sustainable development. So I would like to thank all of you for the engagement and the presence of all of you, because so many of you are working for the consolidation and the biodiversity and the environment conservation for the better economic and social growth in Brazil. Thank you very much. I hope you all have a great day of work with many important discussions. Have a great day. Thank you. Have a great day yourself as well. Okay, so continuing, we're going to hear the mixed parliamentary representative, Mr. Alexis Fontaine. Hello, sorry for being here in the airport, but this presentation is very important. It's an honor to be here with all of you, because this is a very important panel for all of us. We have been discussing this with Embrapa, one of the Brazilian companies that do the researches, that are really important for the biofuels, the bioinsumptions. And I see that this discussion with international participation, both in Europe and also in China, that are great partners of ours, is going to help a lot. So Brazil has a great potential. We need to know how to use it, and we need to aggregate value to it. We need to be able to protect the environment and have this discussion, because it's really important in Europe as well, for the environmental sustainability discussion as well. We can attend all of this demand without losing the opportunity that Brazil has in this sense. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, I need to be fast here because I'm almost boarding. But this panel is going to be really interesting to talk about the bioeconomics that is going to be really important to all of us. And the value that we have in the sector is huge. And Brazil needs to develop its natural values to develop itself as an economy that in the future will have more and more importance. So thank you so much once again for the invitation. I wish you all a great event. And later on, I will talk to you again when I reach Campinas. Thank you very much. Thank you. I wish you a great trip. Now we're going to listen to the executive president of the textile industry, Fernando Pimentel. It is a great pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much. I thank you very much for the invitation, and I greet Robson, Inácio Ibanez, my friend Alexis Fontaine, and also Jin Hongju. It is a great pleasure to participate in this event that is not the future, it's the present. The other day, I was talking and reading about a book, Brazil Restorable Paradise, Nature or Progress. That was the past. And now nature is the progress. The good use of nature's natural resources is going to be important for Brazil. I work in a sector that has been criticized from top to bottom, and the different raw materials that we use as citizens in this sector transforms fibers annually with the greater participation of the synthetic fibers, and it has been trying to translate the current new needs without compromising the future generations. And for that, it's going to be fundamental for us to have and use all of this ecosystem that Brazil has built, which is not small, and value, as President Hobson and the representative Alexis has said, we have a lot of abundance in natural resources, and that doesn't mean that we're going to be rich in generation of richness. We need to transform this in something that generates value for society and that preserves the planet. In our industry, we have a challenge because there's millions of fibers that are transformed. 60% is for clothing. The other ones go for the automotive industry, textile industry, that a series of uses. And how we're going to be able to provide clothes for 12 billion people in the future, allowing the different populations to be able to consume without harming the environment. Brazil has a very specific plan, and if we use it correctly, we have a potential ambassadors here, and we had a meeting with Euratex, and we have a lot of interest in this partnership with the European industry. And in our point of view, this pandemic, this tragedy that has been happening all around the world has shown us that we need to advance in the sustainable agenda. It is a broad importance, environmental, social, and governance. Brazil is one of the cleanest has one of the cleanest energies in the world, and it can be a great protagonist and with its partners, generating solutions, but also knowing that the advances of the area can be changed as well. So once again, I can only wish you all a great event. It came at a great time, and with the interruption of the economic area perspectives, we had a different way for them to construct their future. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you very much for the invitation. I wish you all a great event in the agenda that is not 100 meters run. It is a marathon that is going to demand from all of the countries a great comprehension and understanding. So in this industry, we are going to be able to mix the 4.0 industrial revolution with renewable materials and circular economy, among other actions that are really important for our agenda. More and more connected, right? Yes, thank you very much for this participation in our debate with the chief of the European Commission here in Brazil, is Inácio Ibanez. Good morning.
Muito bom dia, muito obrigado. Verdadeiro prazer para mim fazer parte deste evento. Gostaria de agradecer a CNI aqui representada pelo seu presidente, Robson Braga de Andrade, por esta oportunidade de apresentar a visão da União Europeia sobre o papel da bioeconomia e sobre as negociações em curso sobre biodiversidade a nível internacional. É também uma honra compartilhar palestra com o deputado Alexis Fontaine, presidente da Frente Parlamentar Mista pela Inovação na bioeconomia no Congresso, com Fernando Pimentel, presidente da Associação Brasileira da Indústria Textil e de Confecção, e com meu colega Jim Hongjun, ministro conselheiro da Embaixada da República Popular da China, grande parceiro da União Europeia.
And a great
A
partner
União
of the European
Europeia
Union.
atualizou a
The
sua
European
estratégia da
Union has
bioeconomia
updated its
sustentável em
strategies of
2018.
sustainable economy
Desde o nosso ponto de
economies in
vista, para
2018.
ter
And
sucesso,
from our
a
point of view,
bioeconomia
to be
precisa estar
successful,
baseada
the
em dois
bioeconomy
princípios
has to be
fundamentais:
based in
a
two
sustentabilidade e a
principles:
circularidade.
sustainability and
Isso impulsionará a
circularity.
renovação
This
de
will
nossas
impulse
indústrias e a
the
proteção do
innovation of
meio
our
ambiente
industries,
e
the protection
aumentará
of our
a
environment,
biodiversidade.
and will increase
Uma
biodiversity.
bioeconomia europeia sustentável
A
é
sustainable
necessária
European
para construir
bioeconomy
futuro
is
neutro em
necessary
carbono
to
até
build a
2050,
carbon
em
neutral
linha com
economy
os
until
objetivos climáticos do
2050.
Acordo de Paris
It's
e
climate
com o nosso
change
Green Deal, o Pacto Verde da
objectives
União
and with the
Europeia.
Green
Ao
Pact of the
mesmo
European
tempo,
Union.
apoia
At the
também
same
a
time,
modernização e o
we support
reforço
the
da base industrial da
modernization
União
and
Europeia
reinforce of
através
the
da
industrial
criação
base
de
of the
novas
European
cadeias de
Union
valor e
through
processos
creating new
industriais mais
chains
verdes e
production
eficazes
values
em termos de
and that
custos.
are more effective
Em
in
outras
terms of
palavras, no
cost.
contexto
In other
atual das
words, in
consequências
the current
econômicas da
context,
pandemia
with
Covid-19,
the
espera-se que a
pandemia
bioeconomia
and others,
dê uma
we
contribuição
expect that the
substancial
economy will
para
give a
uma
substantial
recuperação
contribution
verde.
to a
Quando desde a
green
União Europeia
recovery.
olhamos para
From
o
the European
exterior,
Union,
vemos
we
também
look
o enorme
to
potencial da
abroad
bioeconomia,
and we see
em
the enormous
particular
potential
em
of
países com a enorme
biotechnology,
riqueza
especially in
natural do
countries with a
Brasil.
lot of
Às
natural
vezes, algumas
resources
pessoas poderiam
like
ter a
Brazil.
impressão
People
que a
might have
União
the
Europeia
impression that
defende
the European Union
apenas uma
defends
visão da
only
biodiversidade
a view of
baseada na
biodiversity
conservação.
based on the
Mas não é
conservation.
assim. A
But
população
it
do
is not
Amazonas,
so.
por exemplo,
The population of
precisa
the
de desfrutar um
Amazon, for
maior
example,
desenvolvimento
has to
econômico, mas
have
deve
great
ser
economic
sustentável,
development,
a
but
longo
it has to
prazo
be
e
sustainable
respeituoso da
and in the long
biodiversidade.
term and
Fica
respecting
evidente que a
biodiversity.
bioeconomia
Becomes evident
sustentável
that sustainable
proporciona uma das
bioeconomy
possibilidades
is one
mais
of the
promissórias
possibilities
para
that is
eles.
most promising for them.
Dar igual importância à
And
conservação e ao
to
uso
give
sustentável da
conservation and to the use of
biodiversidade
sustainable
não
use,
é
giving
uma
the
ideia
same importance,
específica da União
is
Europeia
not
ou
a
do Brasil.
specific idea of
Essas
the
são
European Union
dois
or
dos três
Brazil.
pilares da
These are two
Convenção
of the
sobre a
three pillars
Biodiversidade,
on the
CDB.
Biodiversity
O
Convention.
terceiro é a repartição
The
de
third
benefícios
is the division
implementado
of the
por meio
benefits
do Protocolo de
implemented
Nagoya.
through the
Quero
Nagoya
aproveitar
Protocol.
esta
I'd like to take
oportunidade
the
para
opportunity
parabenizar o
to
Brasil pela
congratulate
ratificação do
Brazil
Protocolo de
for
Nagoya
having
no mês de
ratified the
agosto passado
Nagoya
e também
last
a
August
CNI por ter
and
defendido essa
CNI
decisão.
for having
Este
defended this
protocolo,
decision.
como
This
recordou o
protocol,
presidente, é uma
as the
peça
President has
essencial da
remembered, is an
governança
essential
global
part
na
of
área
global
da
governance
biodiversidade.
in the biodiversity.
Em maio deste ano, a Comissão Europeia
May of
adotou a
this year, the
Estratégia da
European
Biodiversidade
Commission
da União
took
Europeia
on the
para
biodiversity
2030,
strategy
plano
for 2030,
abrangente,
a
ambicioso e de longo prazo
ample plan which
para
is
proteger a
ambitious and
natureza
looking at the
e
long term
inverter a
to protect
degradação
nature
dos
and to
ecossistemas.
stop degradation
Representa
of
a contribuição da
ecosystems.
União
And it
Europeia para
represents
as
the
próximas
contribution of
negociações
the European
internacionais
Union
no
for
quadro
the next
da Convenção sobre a Biodiversidade. Esta
meeting on the
estratégia
Convention on
demonstra que a União
Biodiversity.
Europeia
This
está
strategy
pronta
demonstrates that the
para dar
European
o
Union
exemplo
is
para a
ready
adoção
to give the
bem-sucedida de
example
objetivos
to the
ambiciosos de
successful
biodiversidade
adoption
à
of
escala global
biodiversity
nesse
at the
quadro.
global level.
Como União Europeia, defendemos uma
As
visão
European
abrangente
Union,
da
we
biodiversidade,
defend a
especificamente os
ample
três pilares da
defense of
Convenção sobre a
biodiversity,
Biodiversidade.
especially the three pillars of the
Acreditamos que não
Convention.
podemos
We believe
abordar
that we
nenhum
cannot
dos
approach
desafios
any of
separadamente,
these challenges
porque eles
separately
estão
because
profundamente
they are
interligados.
deeply
Nossa abordagem
interconnected.
para esse fim é
Our
dupla.
approach to
Metas
that end is
abrangentes de
double,
longo prazo para a
ample
biodiversidade,
objectives in the long
alinhadas
term for
com uma visão das
biodiversity,
Nações Unidas
aligned
para
with the view of the
2050,
United
e metas
Nations for
globais
2050,
ambiciosas para 2030,
and
em linha com o que
ambitious
a União
global
Europeia propôs
objectives for
na sua
2030,
estratégia de
which the
biodiversidade.
European Union
Como este fórum vai
proposed
deixar
in
muito
its
claro, o
convention.
Brasil
This forum
tem
is going to
uma
make it
grande
very clear that
oportunidade
Brazil
de
has a great
desenvolver um sector de
opportunity
bioeconomia
of developing the
sustentável e respeitoso da mesma
sustainable
biodiversidade
biotech
da qual
sector
depende para seu
perspective of the
desenvolvimento. O
biodiversity that
principal
they need for
desafio é
development. The
claramente
main
que esse
challenge
sector,
clearly
para ser
in this
reconhecido
sector
como
to
credível
be
no exterior,
recognized
precisa
as
contar
credible
não
abroad
apenas com
has to count
regulamentações
not only
fortes,
with
mas
strong
também com
implementation
cumprimento efetivo
of
dessas
effective fulfilling
regulamentações.
of those
Estamos trabalhando com o
regulations.
Conselho
We are
Nacional da
working
Amazônia
with the National
Legal,
Council on
liderado pelo
Amazon,
vice-presidente Mourão, para tratar
led
dessas
by
questões
Vice
de
President
fiscalização
Morel
em
to deal with
aspectos
these issues of
diretamente
inspection,
ligados ao combate ao
aspects
desmatamento
directly
e à proteção
connected
da
to
biodiversidade
combating
na Amazônia.
deforestation and
Esta é a
protecting
parceria que
biodiversity.
também
This is the
desejamos
partnerships
desenvolver
that we
por meio
desire
do
to
Acordo de
develop
Associação União
through the agreements
Europeia-Mercosul,
between the
que
Association
também tem claro
and
foco
European
em favor
Union,
da
which
sustentabilidade.
has a focus
Contar
on
com outros
sustainability.
parceiros como a China,
Count with
que vai
other
ter
partners
a
like
grande
China that
responsabilidade
will
de
have the
organizar a
great
próxima Conferência de
responsibility of
Biodiversidade da ONU,
organizing the
a
next
COP15,
biodiversity
em Comim,
conference
será sem
in
dúvida
Kunming
muito
will
importante.
no doubt be
Muito
very
obrigado
important.
pela sua atenção.
Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for your words. A good day to you. I'd like to hand over to the Minister of the Embassy of the Popular Republic of China, Jin Hongzhong, President of CNI, Excellencies, the Parliamentarian Front, Alex Fontaine, which maybe is in his airplane, President of BIJ, Mr. Fernando Pimentel, Excellency, and the representative of the European Union, Ambassador Ignacio Ibanez, dear friends, guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to all. So it was a great satisfaction to participate in this video conference. Most of all, in name of the ambassador, I would like to greet all of you and wish you successful in this forum. The bioeconomy is one of the economic modalities that is most promising. The COVID-19 pandemic puts challenges to humanity, but on the other hand, accelerated the era of the bioeconomy. China, besides having the greatest population and the greatest market in the world, is rich in biological resources and phytotherapeutics, which gives a good basis for the development of the bioeconomy. Nowadays, the bioeconomy has become the new point of growth for the Chinese economy. The process of structural transformation and updating. In the general context of the Chinese bioindustry, the production has kept an over 20% growth with a good dynamic in various fields like biomedicine, bioagriculture, biomanufacture, bioenergy, and biosafety. You can notice a clear tendency of structural sophistication. In the institutional area, the Chinese government has been reinforced the political guarantees for the sector, like the continuous increase of investment, research, and development. The 14th quinquennial plan, which comes in next year, put as strategic areas like neuroscience, biotech, health, and bioengineering, and others. Besides, it proposed a series of initiatives so that China can do a better service of its best use of its advantages and give a strong sustenance of the bioeconomy. In the specific case of research in vaccines against the coronavirus, China adopted very quickly 5 technological approaches, and at this moment, 5 Chinese vaccines are in the phase 3 for clinical trials in many countries like Brazil, Argentina, Peru, Arab Emirates, Turkey, Egypt, and Indonesia. My government has taken on the commitment that the Chinese vaccine, as soon as available, will be a global public domain. It will be the Chinese contribution to the availability and accessible price of these immunizers against COVID-19 to those countries in development. Countries in great biological resources and technology, Brazil has a vocation to develop its bioeconomy from the point of view of research and development and the technological advantage, China and Brazil present their own characteristics, and this complementarity between the both parts could result in partnerships and new potential and ample perspectives. Since the last year, the chiefs of state of both countries have reached strong consensus in terms of bilateral cooperation, in terms of biotechnology and diversity. Concrete examples in this case, like the Sinovac that is already in phase 3 in Brazil. Many Chinese companies are working with Brazilian partners in clean energy, generation of energy through biomass. We also have fully functioning the China-Brazil Centers of Biotechnologies, joint laboratories for agrarian sciences, and the Chinese-Brazil Center for Climate Change and Technology and Innovative Technology for Energy. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, as Xi Jinping, my president, announced, we need to take over our high responsibility for all of human civilization to seek the path to the harmonious cohabitation between man and nature. So with these opportunities generated by the bioeconomy, China is ready to strengthen the communication with Brazil so that we both can have our advantages. So this area could be the new highlight in our bilateral cooperation. So firstly, we could amplify the cooperation in clean energy. China is ready to work with Brazil to deepen the cooperation and clean energy, especially in terms of biomass and biofuels, and extending it to other areas of the bioeconomy. Second, we can develop cooperation in terms of biotechnology. We will close our ties in terms of agricultural technology, germplasm resources, and environmental biology, and enriching the content of our bilateral cooperation and bioeconomy. Thirdly, we can seek more cooperation in biomedicine, joint cooperation in the vaccine against the COVID that showed the potentiality of a partnership in that area. Companies and research institutions on both sides can work with understanding of the partner markets and in the alignment of the demands, identifying new opportunities to contribute more for health and for the well-being of the population. China and Brazil are important actors in the international, in great economies and developing economies. In May of next year, China will host, like the Ambassador Ibanez mentioned, China will have the 15th Conference of Signatories on Biological Biodiversity, a treaty signed in Brazil. The agenda of this forum includes a civic panel for debating the initiatives, and I believe that a more structured partnership between China and Brazil in the bioeconomy will benefit both our countries and people, besides bringing positive contributions to the world. Thank you very much. We thank you very much, Minister, and we thank you all for your participation here in the opening of the BioForum. More relevant information will probably base our presentation. So we will start the presentation of bioeconomy in the industrial chain of soya, the experience in China, with the speaker Ling Tan. We'll be back soon. In the soya production chain, industrial chain, the experience in China with the speaker Lin Tan, CEO of the Hopeful Grain and Oil Group. It will be a 30-minute presentation. You have the floor, Mr. Lin Tan.
Thank you. Share my screen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be invited to this conference. Thank you for your invitation of CNI and also China-Brazil Trade Center. My name is Lin Tan. I work for a crushing plant in China. My company is a soybean processing crushing plant in China for like more than 20 years. But my job is doing marketing research, new business development. I'm taking care of the company's business in Brazil, Argentina, and the US. So that's why I'm based in the US. And today is the Thanksgiving Day in the US. So we are celebrating Thanksgiving holidays today. So happy Thanksgiving. My presentation will be the bioeconomy in soybean industry. So I'm pleased to share some of my experience in the soybean industry. Soybean is a very special crop in the world now, and especially in between Brazil and China. So China is the origination of soybean. So as you know, we have Chinese agriculture culture have been keep going on for more than 5,000 years. The soybean is one of the crop first being planted in China. And nowadays, if you are working in China, if you're working in some of the wild area, you'll still be able to find some wild soybeans in a field. So that's kind of a proof that this crop is originally coming from China. Brazil, on the other side, well, is like producing soybean later on, but Brazil is the largest soybean producer in the world. So you have passed the U.S. production in recent years, become #1 soybean producer in the world. On the other hand, China is the largest soybean importer in the world. We consume about 130 million metric tons of soybean every year. But Brazil is the largest exporter in the world. So this is like the most important commodity between China and Brazil. So the history of planting soybean in China has been passing on the new modern experience of soybean production in Brazil. In the two countries, if you are looking at the trade balance, soybean considered the #1 commodity being traded between Brazil and China. So that's what we can see from the economy side of the soybean industry. But in the slide, we can see the soybean. That's a seed of soybean, right? So the soybean is one of the valuable products in the agriculture industry. The soybean contains the fat, that means oil, 19% of oil in the soybean seed. And then you have protein. So soybean oil is one of the best oil for cooking, for industry use. Of course, all the soybean import to China, and we process that, and the oil being used for cooking oil. Protein is the most important part of soybean industry. So we used to have, when we processing soybean, we normally thinking like the soybean is an oil grain. If you are in the industry, you still consider that soybean is an oil grain. But the reality in the world now is soybean is the most important thing of soybean is their protein, because soybean is the cheapest protein produced in the world. We have human consume meat, right? We need protein, and animal can produce meat, but all the animals, they don't produce protein. Of course, meat is mostly mostly protein, but the animals can only transfer protein from the vegetable protein to meat. So that's why protein is so important. Beside that, you have carbohydrates. It's like insoluble or soluble. So two kind of soybean is two kind of carbohydrate being in the product, and it's mostly in the whole, right? And so that can be used for dairy consumption. And then you have 4% of ash, and of course 14%, 13% of soybean of moisture in the grain. So that's the content of the soybean grain. And most of the time, that's what we will, as a producer, we are looking how to develop my product from this kind of special grain produced by this special plant. The introduction of my company, Hopeful Grain and Oil Group, is one of the largest soybean processing company in China. This company is a private company. If you are looking at China's industry, and most of the time you will see large companies, state-owned companies. But Hopeful is a private company. And we have Kafco, we have Sinogreen. Those are mostly the large state-owned companies. And we also have some state-owned company, private side. So we are the largest private company. The company starts from a little town beside Beijing. If you are visiting Beijing, this probably be the only company you will be able to visit. And we have 3 processing plants, one in South China, one in Beijing, and one in Northeast China. So each company can process around 10,000 metric tons of soybean. That's like mostly, if you are visiting Mato Grosso, most of the farmers, their production for a year, their annual production is around like 10,000 metric ton. So that means each of our crushing plants can process one farmer's production in one day. Of course, with our main production is soybean meal for feed company to feed the animals, and oil for crushing, for cooking. And also we have some other products. We have lecithin production that being used for feed industry as an additive. And we are also doing research to develop some other new products like soy protein. That's one of the products for human consumption. And flavoring, that's for food additive. Phosphate amide, that's also kind of health food additive to human. So let's see how the soybean can be used in the world. Of course, we can see soybean is mostly used for crushing. So we all soybean import from Brazil to China. We crush that. We produce soybean meal and soybean oil. And beside that, so this kind of industry grade, so for the industry processing. And then the main use is soybean meal for animal production and oil for cooking. And then you have other products. We have a lecithin, as I just said in a previous slide. And my company produces lecithin for feed industry. And then one of the large usage is biodiesel. Biodiesel is becoming kind of common product in Brazil, in the US, in Europe, and in many other countries. So that's the government has a mandatory blend of biodiesel. If you go to a gas station, you will be able to fill up your tank with biodiesel. And then other usage will be soybean-based oil for printing. If you are receiving a newspaper, when you are reading a newspaper, you will see you need to print, right? All the printing will coming from like the chemical processing. But nowadays, people can use soil-based toner to print. We have this industry has been started like 20 years ago, and you can print many in many kind of printing industry, newspapers, even business cards is being printed by this kind of product. And in recent years, we start to use soil-based toner. We have a printer, like you have a printer in your office, printer in your home. Then you can use this kind of toner to print. And coating is also like the painting. You can paint your wall. You can paint your house. That's also coming from soybean oil. And detergent is widely used now in the U.S. Many of the detergent for laundry, for dishwasher, especially for dishwasher, you don't like to use a chemical product, but you can use a soil-based detergent that's safe and healthier. Soybean fiber is one of the products that can be used. Remember, when we are talking about the soybean seed, they have a huge amount of fiber in the product. So those fiber can be used for textile industry. So you can buy some soybean fiber clothes, mostly underwears that you feel soft and also healthy. Another use will biodegradable mulch. Mulch is kind of a plastic film. You can use in you can wrap food, and mostly in the agriculture industry, mulch is being used in the field. Like when you are traveling in China, in the northwest of China, we have cotton production. So the cotton production area use a lot of mulch to protect the soil moisture and also to gain some heat from sunshine and to let the crop grow faster. On the other side of China, in the east side of China, in Shandong province, that's one of the largest vegetable production area. So people use mulch for vegetable production. By year and year, you will see the plastic film has been left over in the farming land, becoming a kind of pollution, and we call that white pollution. So to solve the problem, this kind of soybean-based mulch can be used to substitute the old chemical film. So that's one of the best way to use that. Of course, and you will see we can use soybean-based plastics. When you go to shopping, they give you a plastic bag, and that's not degradable. It will last for hundreds and thousands of years. It may not be degraded. And with soil-based plastic, it's easy and decomposable. And also, the soybean can be used as a soybean carpet. You can make a carpet for schools. It's very helpful for the kids. One of the new development of soybean use is soybean-based asphalt. Asphalt is used to build up road. In the picture, you see there's a road construction there, but mostly it can be used to repair the road. I remember when I traveled in Mato Grosso, and most of farmers will see when you are driving, will tell you a block. That means that there's a break or a hole in on the road. And so this soil-based asphalt can be used to repair the road. Of course, this is like good for the environment, but that lasts longer and works very good now in the U.S. And especially in the north side of the U.S. when the weather is cold. So every year your road is cracking, and then it's easy to use soybean-based asphalt to repair this kind of road. Beside the industry grade and for the further processing, especially for human consumption, food grade soybean is one of another category. Most of the time when you are talking about the industry grade and food grade, we talk about GMO product and non-GMO product. But some of the countries, like Southeast Asian countries, they also use GMO soybean as a food grade to produce like a simple food for human daily consumption. But here we are mostly talking about non-GMO soybean. So the non-GMO soybean can be used for many products. China is one of the original place of soybean production. We have been consuming soybean for so many years, thousands of years, and developed many cuisines that related to soybean. So soybean, in recent years, people also use this kind of a non-GMO soybean for crushing. And there are, of course, you produce meat, you produce soybean meal, and this soybean meal can be used to feed some special animals. We have many kind of stores and sell the organic food. And some of the organic food can be very special, being fed by a non-GMO soybean meal. And also, non-GMO soybean oil is also have the higher quality and high price in China, especially in China. The soybean oil have a very high value. It's like 2 times expensive than the normal soybean oil. For daily consumption, you will see there are some kind of food you probably been tasted before, like edamame, like roasted bean, like natto, like soybean sprout. That's mostly coming directly from soybean seed. So when you travel in Japan, you will mostly eat edamame or natto over there. And then the soybean product will be soy sauce. You will see if you go to a Chinese restaurant, you will mostly use a soy sauce. And soy milk, that's mostly in the Asian countries. Soybean milk is being used for breakfast, like what we have milk here in Brazil. So it's very common soy milk everywhere in the country. Tofu has been using in the country for so many years, and you can cook many kind of dishes by using tofu. It's, the picture here is a tofu. So tofu looks like a cheese, but people like it. If you go to Chinese restaurants, you probably be order something like mapo tofu. That's one dish coming from tofu. And also some other food additives can be produced from this kind of soybean. One of the use will be soybean flours. So soybean flour can be added to wheat flours. That will be kind of a bleach to the wheat flours. You know, when you are making bread, you will like some of people will like your bread, the flour be white, and also you can increase your protein. So soybean flour can be used as an additive to wheat flours as an additive. So that's the current use of food grade soybean. But in the meantime, there are further processing of food grade soybean in the industry. So margarine is one of the products that we can buy in the grocery store now. So there was a debate of butter and margarine. Should we eat butter or eat margarine? So in the end, the U.S. FDA was released regulation. So you have to make your margarine have a color, a yellow color, compared to butter. But most of the people will believe margarine is healthier than butter because it's a vegetable based. This soybean can also be used to make a salad dressing, to make mayonnaise, and also can be used to make creamers, like coffee creamers. When you buy a coffee, you can add milk, but you can also buy creamers. Also, to produce protein, many people will doing exercises. Now, after exercise, they will have some protein to build up the body. And then food supplement like lecithin. The picture here is one of the best-selling products in the U.S., the lecithin, but that's produced from soybean. Well, that's all the so far. Most of the product you can see in the industry or from the market, but those products are all based on the production of soybean. So as we know, Brazil is one of the largest soybean producer in the world, and also the largest soybean export in the world. But to produce soybean, we have developed the soybean production from Rio Grande do Sul to Mato Grosso. Now the soybean all expanding to Mapitiba area, so to the northeast side of Brazil. And Brazil production will still keep going on as China demands will keep going on. This year we will see China become the China soybean import will pass 100 million metric ton. That's the first year we're importing more than 100 million ton in the history. And this import volume will still keep going on. Brazil will keep expanding the soybean production area. But if you are thinking of the total soybean production in Brazil, we have only around like 10% of soybean production as non-GMO soybean production. Most of the soybean product produced in Brazil are GMO product. That's because two reasons. The first major reason was for the weed control, because when you are planting soybean, you have a huge piece of land, and weed will become a problem of soybean production. So when you use herbicide, GMO products will help you to use your herbicide. So you see the picture here. That's a picture from Mato Grosso, and the field is very clean. That's because you are using herbicide. And the other reason for to use that is pesticide, because we plant more cotton and other crops as a second crop in Mato Grosso. We have more and more pests developed in the country. So we have to use a new GMO soybean that can control the pest. But most of the time, non-GMO production is needed because the industry need that. In recent years, the non-GMO products is mostly export from Brazil to some Norwegian salmon fish producers. So they use, because the salmon fish is a high value product, they use non-GMO soybean meal to feed their salmon. And in the meantime, because China and US had trade conflict in the past 2 years, soybean production in Brazil will be also impacted. And Chinese company, because we're not buying from the US, we all coming to buy from Brazil. So Brazil will become one of the origination area to China. So that's why this year Brazil soybean supply is very tight. Most of China being shipped to China. But the demand from non-GMO is actually not coming from China. So Chinese demand is mostly GMO product. Most of non-GMO is shipping to the European countries. And because of this kind of a demand change, there is a discourage for non-GMO production, because China demand increased. That means your GMO product demand increased, but the non-GMO products shipped to Europe has not impacted. So that in that case, farmers not get well paid by producing non-GMO product. So I'm thinking in this couple of years, Brazil non-GMO production will be decreased. But in the long run, we will still believe Brazil need to produce more non-GMO product, because there is a higher value, and you can produce more food additives, more food-related product. That's the future. Of course, we know most of the soybean production, most of the non-GMO, China is a non-GMO producing country. So we produce most of the non-GMO soybean we need. That's why we are not importing from Brazil yet. So the new product development and the new market need this industry, need producers, soybean processors, and also soybean marketing people to work on that, to expand its market, develop a new market. And this will be a new work for the industry. As one of the largest soybean producer in the world, to produce non-GMO products will be also benefit for the farmers, as their value will be higher for the farmers. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and happy Thanksgiving again.
Mr. Lingtan, we thank you for your presence, bringing all of your experience from that company, which has an impressive record. And I think this will be important for this forum and this exchange of experience. So in moments, we will start the Magna speaker, which is the role of bioeconomy in the economic recovery in sustainable basis in the European Union, Mr. Dirk Cajes. We'll be back in a few seconds. You have the floor, Mr. Carres.
Good morning, bon dia. Thank you for inviting me. So in the next minutes, I will try to explain you the bioeconomy role in the economic recovery. And I will, of course, focus on Europe and explain as a kind of a case study what Europe is doing. I have, I would say, 4 parts in my presentation. I will explain you a bit what we are doing ourselves. I'm the director of the Bio-Based Industries Consortium in Europe. I will explain you also what the bioeconomy today represents in Europe. But then also, of course, what policies do we have? How are we linking bioeconomy to circular economy, to Green Deal, to green recovery? As an example, I will also explain you one instrument that we have developed, and that's a public-private partnership for the bioeconomy. And then I will conclude. So, I'm the director of the Bio-Based Industries Consortium. This is a consortium of a bit more than 240 industry members, large companies, SMEs, but also regional SME clusters. But very important for the bioeconomy, these companies come from different industrial sectors. They come from agriculture, they come from the agro-food and feed, they come also from aquaculture and the marine industry, chemicals, materials, the forestry, pulp and paper, technology providers, but also market actors, companies that develop new applications and bring the applications on the market, and also quite new, the waste management and waste treatment companies. We also have more than 200 associate members, which are major universities, research organizations, national, regional organizations, private banks, and so on. And it is really our mission to connect industry, academia, regions, and citizens to transform bio-based feedstock into new sustainable products and to create new circular bio-based ecosystems, so value chains via access to finance, via investments, via innovation, and via the application of and the development of know-how. Now today, what is the bioeconomy? What is representing already in Europe? The latest numbers that we have published a few weeks ago are based on the what we call the Eurostat numbers, the latest numbers from 2017. And these numbers show that the total turnover of the total bioeconomy in Europe is 2.4 trillion euro. The bio-based industries, so I would say without the primary sector and without the food, so if you look to the non-food area, represents 0.75 trillion, so 750 billion euro. And if you look to employment, the total bioeconomy in Europe represents 18.5 billion employees, and 3.5 billion of these employees are active in the so-called bio-based industries. So if we go a bit more into detail, then we see that, again, if you look to the total turnover of the bioeconomy, 2.4 trillion euro, we see that as average, half of them are active in the food and the beverage industry. And then we have a quarter, the primary sector, agriculture, forestry, and a quarter in the bio-based area, so the non-food area. If we focus a bit more on this bio-based area, then we see that this has grown. And for instance, between 2016 and 17, we have seen a growth of around 7%. But we have seen that the bio-based economy has grown from 0.6 to 0.8 trillion euro between in almost 10 years. On top of that, half of the turnover from the bio-based sector is coming from the forestry-related activities. I think that's also important for Brazil. It's coming from the forest-based and, for instance, the pulp and paper industry. So they're quite important. Now, what kind of policies do we have in Europe to stimulate bioeconomy, but even more in these difficult times, to link bioeconomy to, let's say, the circular economy, which is a principle that we are developing very actively in Europe, but also to, you have heard probably about it, the Green Deal and the Green Recovery, which is really linked to the recovery due to the COVID-19 crisis. Well, first of all, we have a circular economy strategy and action plan. And our previous European Commission has developed in 2014 the first circular economy strategy. And the whole idea was to launch the idea, the principle of a circular economy, where I would say the value of the products and the materials and the resources are maintained in the economy as long as possible. And as a result, of course, to generate less waste. But at that moment, the whole idea of circular economy was still in an early phase. We often say the strategy was stronger on paper than in practice. Now, the new European Commission has published this year a new circular economy action plan. And this is quite important because here we see that the circularity becomes an essential part of a wider transformation of the industry towards more climate neutrality. The Commission and I think the member states and all the stakeholders really want to scale up the circular economy from a few frontrunners really towards a kind of a mainstream concept in the overall economy. Very important, in that action plan, it is mentioned that we should obtain a greater circularity in our industry by supporting the sustainable and circular bio-based sector via the implementation of a bioeconomy action plan. And I come back to that. So very important, the Commission has clearly made a link between the circular economy, production of less waste, and better use of the resources and the bioeconomy. Now, just to be sure, because that's sometimes different depending on the geographical area, what do we understand as the definition of bioeconomy? This is not like sometimes in the United States or sometimes used by the OECD. I would say all activities which are linked to biotechnology. Now, in the area of, in Europe, we see the bioeconomy as all the sectors and the systems that use, produce, process biological resources. So that can be ecosystems from land and sea, that is the primary production, forestry, agriculture. This is the production of food and feed, fibers, and bio-based products, biofuels, bioenergy. So everything which is related to a biological feedstock. And as I said already in 2012, the Commission has communicated its strategy for a bioeconomy. And at that moment, bioeconomy was still quite in an early phase. And the idea of this communication was to pave the way to a more innovative, resource-efficient, competitive society in all the different sectors that I just tried to explain. One important action point in that communication was the setup of the BBI, which is the public-private partnership, and I will show you that a bit later. 5 years later, in 2017, an expert group, and I was a member of that expert group, has reviewed the bioeconomy strategy, and we have seen that it gave a quite good delivery. The objectives were certainly still relevant, but we should give an increasing importance and we should be more focused to actions which are evolved over time. To give you an example, we should make a better link to the different SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. We should make a link to other policies like the industrial policy. We should make a link, as I explained, to the circular economy, which were not existing at the moment as a concept in 2012. And so in 2018, the Commission has updated the bioeconomy strategy. And this bioeconomy strategy, the updated version, really wants to link the sustainable use of renewable resources for food, feed, bio-based products, and bioenergy, but link it also with protection of the environment, protection of biodiversity, make a better link to circularity and to SDGs, have better balance between social, environmental, and economic benefits. And so you see in the circular economy action plan, the Commission has really also made then the link to this bioeconomy strategy. So this is quite good. I don't have time to go into detail. I think the slides will be made available, but in this updated bioeconomy strategy, give you an example, we have 3 pillars. We have a pillar that is focusing on strengthening, scaling up bio-based sectors, unlocking investments, stimulate the development of the markets, of the bio-based products in the markets. We have a pillar which is more focusing on developing regional value chains, regional local bioeconomies, using the feedstock produced in that region, valorizing the waste streams developed in that region, having a better link to the farmers and the foresters so that they are part of this bioeconomy, not just providing feedstock. And we have a pillar which is important, which is the link to society. We have to create more awareness, more knowledge, more acceptance for bio-based products, because a company will only invest in a new production plant, for instance, if there is feedstock, of course, but also if there is a market. And then the new Commission is putting more the accent also on what we call the Green Deal, as you have probably heard. You also heard this concept coming back in the United States and in several other countries. Now, the Green Deal has been published beginning of this year, and this is really a very broad roadmap for a real transition of our industry towards a more cleaner, greener economy. And this is important because there are 50 actions taken up in that Green Deal, which are cross-sectorial. So it's not only focusing on bio-based, but bio-based is certainly one element of it. Very important, it is a new strategy where the economic growth should be decoupled from the resource use. There is a very important link to the climate change policy. It clearly states that Europe wants to be climate neutral in 2050. And very important, you can only implement an action plan if it is linked to also an investment plan. So very important, there is also a 1 trillion investment plan, green investment plan, and all the actions have to contribute to the SDGs. So it is really a more coherent, systemic approach. This is just an overview, and in red I have indicated some of these actions of the pillars of the Green Deal, which are of importance for the bioeconomy. But for instance, there is a clear action, I would say, pillar focusing on climate change, our ambition, as I explained, for 2030 and 50. There is a clear focus on affordable and clean energy. So there is a link to the Renewable Energy Directive, on the energy taxation directives, which have to be reviewed. There is certainly a very important pillar, important for the bioeconomy, on mobilizing the industry for a clean and circular economy with the new European industrial strategy, the circular economy, and for instance, a new framework for biodegradable and bio-based plastics. Very important, innovation has to be central in this. So we have to mobilize research and fostering innovation. Again, a new public-private partnership, and we come back on that, is important. A very important link to biodiversity. The Commission is working on a new EU biodiversity strategy for 2030. We can come back to that during the discussion. Farm to fork strategy. How can we reduce, let's say, food waste, or how can we also valorize food waste? And very important, linked to that are also financial instruments. So this is, let's say, the overall Green Deal. So very important, the European Green Deal is really an opportunity for also the bio-based sector, because as you have seen, there are several elements that can really support the bio-based sector. It also provides incentives for the development of the bio-based sector, as long as we can show that it is circular, that it is sustainable, that it is, contributing to, let's say, the biodiversity requirements. Very important. Europe is quite complex. We have the European Union and we have all the member states. Well, this Green Deal is supported by the member states, which means that it will have to be implemented also in the different member states. Very important. There is a strong focus on sustainability, sustainable development, an important link to the SDGs, and also it aims really at de-risking investments in sustainable development projects. And that's also very important in our case, because in Europe, an investment in a bio-based project is still perceived as risky by investors compared to some conventional, let's say, investments. And the Commission really has agreed that there is a link between the bioeconomy and the Green Deal. This is, I would say, a leaflet that is published by our Commissioner for Research and Innovation last week. And it really explains the different links between, or how, let's say, bioeconomy can contribute to this Green Deal. By, let's say, generating significant carbon savings, so the link to the climate law, by promoting clean energy, using bio-waste to convert in energy, but also the development of biofuels, important promoting resource efficiency, stimulating production of high added value products from side streams and waste streams, eliminating pollution, and so on and so on. So it's very clear that bioeconomy is integrated, that we have our own strategy for bioeconomy, but this is now integrated in circular economy, Green Deal, and this makes it very important for the implementation of these strategies. And then I would say a very important element, since this year, I think every country, including Brazil, but Europe also, we have a lot of, I would say, damage due to the COVID pandemic. And so some of these elements have been introduced in what we have called the green recovery. It is clear that we will have to support our industry, our economy in the different member states in Europe, just as it is in all parts of the world. So what we try to do in Europe is to, let's say, use this to stimulate companies to become more greener. So we are now in the middle of the pandemic, and what Europe did, we have lifted the state aid rules. You know, member states can only support their companies with national state aid until a certain level. Well, these rules have been temporarily lifted to allow governments to, let's say, conduct their companies through the crisis, of course, but also to give subsidies, tax and social contributions, or relief, I would say, of these contributions, financial supports, give loans and guarantees via banks, but by attaching green conditions. So member states are allowed to give extra support if the companies will link to this support, I would say, measures to make their industry greener. And this is very important. They have to show that they will be more sustainable, that they will invest in, let's say, new activities, alternative activities in their production processes. And this is the way to use state aids and expenditures, national expenditures, but also European money that is distributed via the member states to promote the economic viability of the companies, but link that to environmental viability. And this will certainly accelerate the adoption of low carbon and circular technologies, including, of course, support for the bio-based sector. So this is a bit the strategy that we are developing in Europe. So as an example, last part, I have said that one of the tools, one of the instruments that we have set up in Europe to stimulate the bio-based sector is a public-private partnership. A public-private partnership between BIC, my organization, representing the different companies, and the European Union. This partnership receives a budget from the Commission of 1 billion, or received. And this billion is used to stimulate the bio-based economy via value chains. Starting from different kinds of feedstock, can be agro-based feedstock, can be side streams, waste streams, the forest-based feedstock, can be aquatic-based feedstock, including algae, can be bio-waste, can be CO2, and to produce bio-based products that are used in everyday life. Industry has promised to bring in almost 3 billion euro, and industry is investing, as you will see, in their own projects. Very important. This is not just a research program. This is a program where, let's say, 1/3 of this 1 billion can be invested in research projects. We call this RIA projects. 1/3 can be invested via grants and demonstration projects, small-scale production plans, proof of concept, so that it is easier to attract investors. 1/3 can be invested in what we call flagship projects, and flagship projects are really the first of a kind new production plants. And as you see, industry is mainly investing via the program or co-investing in this demo and flagship projects. This partnership has started in 2014, and what is the impact today? Well, we have seen that this is really mobilizing. Maybe one thing I have to say is that we always try to bring together in these projects different partners that are necessary to develop a value chain from feedstock supply to application. So we don't focus only, we don't support one company or one stakeholder who is developing one area in the value chain. We bring all the partners together so that all together they can develop, implement, and invest in a value chain. And due to that, we have seen that we have mobilized quite some private investments in Europe. And we were also able to attract companies from outside of Europe, including Brazil, by the way. We were able to set up new innovative value chains, new collaborations between different sectors that have never worked before. I mean, the food industry has a lot of waste streams, yeah? But now they have seen that, well, these waste streams is a very important input and a very important feedstock for instance, some chemical companies. The forestry industry was making pulp and paper. Well, today they have seen that by using this pulp, they can also develop fibers for the textile industry, or the lignin can be used by chemical companies to make insulation products. So you have all kinds of new, I would say, collaborations that have started to develop new value chains. And we see also new sectors joining. The fish industry is joining because they can valorize their byproducts not only for fish meal, for instance, but you can use the oils and you can make products from the skin, and you can reuse the proteins again in food and feed. So very important new, I would say, bio-based ecosystems. Very important also, we have seen an increasing participation of what we call the brand owners, the companies that are at the end of the value chain that are developing applications and commercializing applications. And this makes also the time to market for these projects much shorter. This is an overview of different demonstration and flagship projects supported by this partnership all over Europe. And if I just focus on the flagships, we have until 2018, 9 flagships. And then I think in 2019-20, we will have 5 additional flagships within the program, spread all over Europe, different kind of feedstock, different kind of products. But you see that these 9 flagships develop more than 3,000 jobs, direct, and 10,000 indirect jobs. We see that some of these production plants are now replicated, duplicated, I would say, in different parts of Europe or different parts of the world. And linked to, let's say, 200 almost million euro public funding, the private investment linked to that is 1.2 billion. So you see a very important leverage effect. So this is really a good instrument to stimulate investments, to de-risk investments. And I think this is certainly also needed in this time where many of these investments, I would say by companies, has been postponed due to the COVID crisis. So I come to my last slide, the conclusions. So it is clear that bioeconomy or the bio-based economy is already an important economic activity in Europe if you look to turnover, if you look to employment, and it is still growing, especially the bio-based part in it. We have several policies in Europe and initiatives that support the development of a sustainable, circular, bio-based economy. We have the bioeconomy strategy. We have a circular economy action plan. We have a Green Deal and a Green Recovery. We have an instrument which is the public-private partnership. And by the way, we are discussing today, I would say, the follow-up of the partnership, which will be called Circular Bio-Based Europe. So you see already the link. We will continue probably with the partnership, but we will have a bigger focus on circularity, on SDGs, on bio-waste, using bio-waste. The impact of the current partnership is clear and visible, as I just explained, and we are setting up a new partnership. So more focus on circularity and on SDGs. And I hope this gave a kind of an overview of the main activities that we are developing in Europe. Thank you.
We are the ones that thank you so much for showing us this European vision for the development of the bioeconomy and the circular economy. So the bioeconomy and the development is gonna come right next. We're going on a break right now.
Bom dia a todos que entraram agora. A gente deu uma atrasadinha na programação que estava anterior, mas nós vamos entrar no horário no estúdio de novo. O microfone de todos foram mutados.
We are back with the Brazilian Industry Bioeconomic event. Bioeconomy as a strategy. So, CropLab Brazil, Cristiano Bauer, and Embrapa's representatives Alexandre Alonso, and also L'Oréal Brazil representative Luciana, and Raízen Cláudio Oliveira, and the manager of biosustainability, Luciana Villanova Silva. This panel is going to last 50 minutes. To moderate this, we're going to have Monica Hessenbeck. Thank you for being here with us. Good morning, everyone. It is a great opportunity to be with you. And there are so many people that know bioeconomics and this development for the return of our economy. It is fundamental that we work in this way to generate better income, and Brazil detains 20% of biodiversity, and it has everything to transform these advantages. And in this panel, we're going to try to verify what are the main obstacles to be overcome, and what are the different ways that we can overcome this. We're going to have not that much time right now, so I'm going to try to limit the participation of each of you. So let's try to have more. So when we talk about more specific considerations, okay, so Christian, you can start. So if you could tell us your impressions in this panel.
Hello, Monica. It is a satisfaction to be here with you in this important event at the CNI. I'd like to greet my fellow panelists for all of this effort of bringing the bioeconomy to the agenda. I think that our entity, which is Brazil Crop Life, represents 44 companies where the majority, 95%, already act within the bioeconomy. They are already acting with biological resources and renewable resources. We work with digital defense, with vegetal biotechnology. We work with products so that plants become more resistant and can contribute and therefore make more sustainable, more affordable products. And the great star of this activity is the use of biological products that grow a lot. These are microorganisms. They attack microorganisms or organisms that combat other agents of nature or organisms and make viable these plants to gain more productivity. In the entity are all of the companies or important Brazilian companies of Brazil that deal with technology, that work with biotechnology. Biotechnology is that science that works with the essence of life, with the creation of the genes and the DNA, and where you can help and with a lot of focus, you can implement better the life of those plants, alternating those seeds, and bringing characteristics in the seeds, giving them more resistance to some problems of nature and also qualities so that it can produce more. And as a consequence, reduce the cost of food. So we're at the edge of this chain. We are companies of all sizes and other startups. So a lot of willingness to be in part of this debate and promoting the bioeconomy. So we are waiting for your participation, and we will have opportunity to talk about that and about your contribution. So Alexandre Alonso, could you please? Good morning, Monica. Firstly, I'd like to thank for your very kind invitation of the CNI, and I'd like to congratulate you for this initiative. With an event of this size, has a lot to contribute for the establishment to help the Brazilian biotech. So I congratulate you for this event. I'd like to greet my panel colleagues, my fellow panelists that are very active in this area. So it's a great satisfaction and an honor to be in this panel with you. And the idea is to bring a little bit the experience of Embrapa as regards the bioeconomy. Embrapa is the main research institution as regard tropical agriculture and has the bioeconomy as it's one of its most strategic areas. And the research in bioeconomy is at the center of what we do in Embrapa. I'd like to take the opportunity that Embrapa Bioenergy has their agenda totally focused in developing new technologies as regards the insertion in the market. So the biofuel, as is kind of obvious, is one of the stars of the bioeconomy in Brazil, and an agenda focused in products. So these two value chains, I like to show that they are very strong in this bioeconomy. And it's important to discuss what is the role of the science of the development and innovation, the consolidation of the bioeconomy. I like to bring a little bit about the Embrapa energy. And I hope I am able to contribute in this debate. And I'm here available for new interactions. Thank you. I'm certain you will collaborate with our debate. These are areas that are cutting edge and that make all of the difference in where the country will be in a different stage. Fabiana Munoz, please, your initial considerations. Good morning, Monica. First, I'd like to thank CNI for the invitation and to greet my fellow panelists. It's important that we deal with this issue as a strategy for development. I'm going to talk a little bit about what is L'Oréal. It's the greatest industry in the area of cosmetics. It's already 110 years old. And so fully dedicated to beauty, let's say. We had almost 30 billion euros profit in many countries with 80,000 collaborators. So our mission as a company is to take beauty to all and respecting the biodiversity of all beauties in the world. And our view of 2030 is to respect the limits of the planet and guarantee that our activities in all the cycle of our products is within of what the planetary limits, that which the planet is able to take on. So we need a radical change to work within those. The bioeconomy is one of the pillars for that transformation. And this transformation cannot be only of L'Oréal, has to be of all of our partners, our stakeholders, suppliers, clients. And as leaders in the sector, we believe that is our obligation to bring our partners into this. So in June, we announced this year a program for the future with ambitious objectives that assures that we are within these planetary limits and focused on 4 pillars: reduction of emissions, how to work in respecting water resources, and the quality of the water, how do we reduce from a policy from zero deforestation to a positive impact in biodiversity, and then respecting resources of the planet. And we can see that bioeconomy is pretty transversal in all of these pillars. As regards emissions, our objective for 2030 is to align our global warming gases, greenhouse gases, as set in the Paris Agreement. And our objective is that for each product, we will reduce in 50% our emissions. Those are not our direct emissions, but in all our supply chain. And we believe that the bioeconomy is a key tool to reach this transformation, being reducing emissions or in all other, respecting water, respecting biodiversity, and limited use of resources. And we believe, just to finish, that Brazil has a great potential as regards the bioeconomy due to the rich biodiversity. As was mentioned, we have 50% of the biodiversity of the world. We think this is a source of innovation, and also the availability of vegetable inputs and others coming from agro-industry, etc. And I hand it over back to you so we can continue the debate. Thank you. I really think that the area of cosmetics is a leader in terms of the use of biodiversity, and we have enormous field to be explored. Let's go back to... Okay, Mr. Alexandre Alonso, for your initial considerations. Oh, I've already gone. Sorry. Claudio Oliveira, please. Hi, Monica. Thank you. Thank you, CNI, for being able to participate, to be in this forum of bioeconomy. It's a pleasure to be here in a panel with such high-level members. I'd like to congratulate for the choices, the choice of panelists. I'd like to do initial consideration in a more global aspect, but making reference to the Raizen company to which I belong. I think the bioeconomy is more than just an important leverage. It's fundamental, the development, economic, social development of our country. There is also, and will have for a long time, a fundamental role in fighting climate change and in our journey for energy transition to a matrix, a global matrix, of course, and Brazilian as well. And especially we from Raizen company, we have a rich experience, and we think that we in fact have a lot to contribute and to help. Raizen is an integrated company. We're highly committed to combating climate change, and we are in fact a living example of the new economy. We are innovative, we produce energy solutions of the future, and very much connected to the bioeconomy. Our activity nowadays is completely circular, for real. We have 900,000 hectares of sugarcane planted, and from this basic input of sugarcane, we produce alcohol, ethanol, fuels, first generation ethanol, and then subproducts, that is straw, the bio remains, and we produce electricity with that. And then we have the second generation ethanol that comes from this leftover of the first production. And there's additional advantage that we can produce 50% more ethanol with the same area of plants. Besides this last generation, we also produce pellets. So to substitute coal, and we also use biogas. In the end of all of this process, the final residues are used for agriculture and other uses. Just to give you an idea of the circularity of ours, this biogas is very circular. For each liter of ethanol, which is the linhaça, we have 11 liters of that to 1 liter of alcohol. We put these in biodigesters, and from there, and then we create biogas. We have the biomethane that can go for vehicles or for natural gas use, or to generate electricity through engines. So at the end of this process, where the organic subproduct is left, but the organic part is still being used, it's still sent back to the plants, to our crops. So this is just to show how we can contribute specifically as regards the energy transition, and of course, anchored in the bioeconomy. Thank you, Claudio. And Luciana, please. Your initial considerations. Good morning, Monica. I'd like to thank you in the name of Natura. It's an honor to share here with you and to hear so many interesting proposals. I think it's an important issue. The bioeconomy has a platform built worldwide, and I think it's important to Brazil. Europe has already updated about their treaty on bioeconomy, changing from 2012 and pointing to the sustainable economy as a way to find the economic paths for Europe. And I believe that 30% of what it will be developed in GDP in the European countries will come from bioeconomy platforms. And Brazil, with the greatest biodiversity in the world, with a regulation that not too well applied, but of sustainable use, of maintaining biodiversity has to be applied, we would have an important boost to the country. I like to mention a book that was recently launched that talks about Brazil as being seen as the new paradise. Why? Because in the future, the wealth of nations will come from those who have most water, the most biodiversity, and have a greater balance in terms of climate change. So I like to bring this concept of sustainable biotechnology, and very recently, we have this circular bioeconomy. It's not only to think about the beginning of the ingredient, it has to be from a biodiverse, but how to make maximum use of that, using less biomass, using less soil. You will affect less the biodiversity, and transforming and regeneration of forests and conservation in a new economic model, payment of environmental services, regulation of environmental services also is part. So you reuse ever more these resources and giving an end of that biomass so that it can be reused for the creation of new products. So I think this product, Natura, as is a Brazilian company, 50 years old last year. This year, we became the fourth biggest group with the acquisition of Avon, and also an Australian company. Once more, as a group, we incorporate a vision for 250, that more than reducing the impact, the companies, in fact, need to create a social good, environmental good. That's why we have to regenerate our ecosystems from a linear model to an ever more regenerative model. So the invitation that Natura makes, we launch in June our objectives of the whole group to lift this company to a new standard, to be a leading company in sustainable development and the economy, the biodiversity, Brazilian biodiversity as a source of resources of innovation, of substituting non-renewable for renewable, and Brazil is a great research. And the Amazon was our greatest passion in these years, where we have a world where you have the value of biodiversity and social value and the wealth of the indigenous people. Brazil is the only country with the socio-biodiversity term. We want to make this wealth, to make it into social good, and it benefit everyone in Brazil. Thank you. Issues like innovation, technology, legal security, investments, financing are a new way of construction. I think this is fundamental, and I think it will permeate our discussion on the need, how the state needs to support, and how the opportunities are coming up, and the economic system, the market is opening to this new way of thinking and constructing things. Okay, so a first question I'd like to, I hope we can have a little bit more of information. I'm sorry that time is so short, and I would like that each of you be very objective and short. So, Christian, what is the role of the biodefensives in terms of bioeconomy? So, Monica, the biodefensives are a sort of star in terms of digital. But what are we talking, in fact? We're companies that are developing organisms or microorganisms that attack other microorganisms, insects, bacteria, fungi, nematodes. All of these are developed to attack other microorganisms, and at that way, the level of residue and aggression to nature becomes reduced practically to zero. This activity has been developed quite a while, but in the last years, it has grown 10% a year. And in Brazil, it grows at 15% a year. In 2020, which was not a typical year due to the pandemic, Brazilian agriculture continues to work, and biodefensive companies have doubled in size. So with responsibility, with criteria, this industry has a potential that is unprecedented. The capability of Brazil of researching and having, and Embrapa talked and is one of the key players. This is a great opportunity for this country, which is impressive. We have 26 companies that produce and are in this market, and biodefensives is a companion in what we call integrated management of pests. And this means that the potential of productivity is ever more. So it is interesting that despite being a big companies and historically known like Bayer and others, we have many smaller national companies that are growing in an exponential way and working with these products that are sustainable and almost doesn't hurt the environment. And I think that's the point of view and an interesting aspect. Thank you. More than that, the country thanks you and the world thanks you for the possibility of advancing with safety, opening new frontiers and new possibilities. I would like to continue. Christian mentioned Embrapa, so I'd like to call Claudio. Claudio, what are the main opportunities that the bioeconomy offers to Brazil? I'm a little bit confused. It's you, because he mentioned Embrapa, but when he talked about technology, he was also raising the issue and in ways that Raizen might contribute. So in reality, we have, in our view, a basic contribution. Like I mentioned, we produce the fuels of the future, which are the biofuels. We've discussed the insertion of the electrical cars in the energy matrix. But if we look at it very well, we have a system in Brazil which is very, which is, goes through all the territory. We have a lot of fuel stations. We have a solution implemented, which are the biofuels, be through hydrated ethanol that can substitute fossil fuels, and you can put it directly into your car due to biofuel additives that reduce the use of fossil fuels, like the ethanol that is added to gasoline and the one we put into biofuels as well. So we already have a solution that is ready. So what has to be done is an incentive to a sustainable development of this biofuel.
And in this case, the Brazilian government had a very particular innovation in the RenovaBio program. And depending on the way that you see it, it can be classified as an incentive for the biofuels, but it provides the correct management for the producers to justify themselves and to have a better and a more efficient way of dealing with it, and a justification for the biofuels that they are producing. So this solution has been really good. We are in year 0 of implementation of this program, but we know that it's going to be very important. And it is very important. And we had a very important responsibility this new company that we have opened for 10 years. And it is a company that has, they are ambitions that we have for the sustainability. And the ethanol in our sugarcane is the origin of that. So there was a point that I found fundamental that we're talking here. And traditionally, this sector in the past, in the beginning of the alcoolato, that it was called that way, it used a metric that was of tons of sugarcane produced. And it didn't seem to be adequate because we produced the per hectare sugar cane, biogas, electricity, and so forth. So we changed the system, these metrics. The number of and the amount of energy that is generated by it. It is a very serious objective for us to increase it to at least the next 10 years. The number of sugar canes that are planted. We have some metrics of being able to track this basic and sugar cane, where is it coming from, for us to be able to track that. We have a certification program that is very important. And we have partners and providers we have compliance, motivate our clients for them to receive the zero violation program. So this sector has the solution of the future, and right now we can have the support of all of these people, which is the case of Renova Bio. When we talk about biodefensives, I am sorry for this, but Embrapa is a reference when it comes to this strategic development. And right now, Alexandre, please, what are the main difficulties in promoting innovation in Brazil? You and Embrapa is one of the persons that can answer this question the most. Thank you very much for the recognition. We are very happy and proud of with this, and the Brazilian culture can help and consolidate this. So talking about difficulties, first of all, we need to think about the innovation concept. Innovation shows a perfection of the knowledge and new processes. So if innovation presupposes this debate, a way for us to have an attention towards that is the need for us to have a better proximity, and where several institutions are part of, and all of the innovation procedures are here as well. We need to stimulate that to act in a very specific manner for the development and energy to create a better solution for this project, and the transference of technology. So if I could say anything about that, we are going through a process of renovation. So in this industry, in this company, we have the luck of having many innovative companies here with us, and we can stimulate this culture. And we have done a very important work here, favoring our process of we have done a great work. We have the transition of energy. We have a lot of propriety to do that. And that can point out and if we some efforts for all of these actors, we can construct this improvement and gain more energy in a sustainable manner. And research and better investment, we need to think about this opportunity as well. So we have several opportunity We have an agriculture that is growing fast in our country, and our agriculture and this culture that has been said and if we can take this opportunity, we have tried to have the intensification of this issue. So we have been working a lot with this biodiversity, and we need to have this sustainable development, looking for molecules in an integrated manner. This only configures for a better environment in Brazil. We need to remember that because we have people from many universities, agri-tech, and everywhere. So together we have in this bioeconomic area, we have a lot of potential to lead this advancement. This was basically what we had to share here with us. Thank you very much once again for your participation. And Fabiana, how has L'Oreal helped in this chain? How can you illustrate that for us? Yes, of course. So, Monica, first of all, to this to have this essential objective and use this in a more responsible manner, we can work with our providers in the best way possible. It's important to say something here. The purchase of our products and our supply now counts with 50% of emission now, always in a scope 1, 2, and 3. And if we want to reduce our emissions and work with our providers is essential. A way for us to do that is by substituting chemical ingredients by the renewable ingredients. We have an objective here until 2030 where 25% of our portfolio is going to be of circular provision, always valuing this circular economy. Just for you to have an idea, our greatest challenge now is that we have 50% of renewable energy and renewable sources, and 50% are of petrochemical origin. We have a strategy now working by the substitution of a molecule with another one that is equivalent and that is biotechnological. We can substitute a functionality of one ingredient to another, and we can develop other ingredients that are more efficient. And in here, I can bring an active that is the seed to regenerate the skin. And we have a provision, a sustainable development of this plant in Madagascar, in Africa. So not only we can substitute this different products, but we can also guarantee that the provision of this products is sustainable as well. So we want it to at least 2030, we have this in a sustainable manner. When we talk about sustainability, we need to think about all of the pillars. How is this provision done? In a responsible manner, we work with 3 pillars that are more socio-economic developed, and we work with our providers to guarantee the policies of a fair environment, and that can guarantee a better work for all of them and equality as well. So we always think about the feminine power empowerment. And when we think about the environmental pillar, there is the preservation of biodiversity. So we need to work with other ways of cultivation. This is one of our objectives, and also the change of the climate. So that is one, those are ways that we can change our providers as well. Another point that is very important as well, and it was already mentioned by some people here, and that is very important as well. We need to maintain, that is another metrics that we have, the occupation of the land. When we talk about the increase of this and the substitution of some of these products, we need to constantly think about the land occupation, which is necessary for the provision of our ingredients in a sustainable manner, which is the planted area, but also the loss of biodiversity in that plantation or not in that crop. So we need to work on those pillars to bring techniques that are better efficient and that also have a better impact in the region as well. Indeed, thank you. The worry of doing something that is more integrated and that have this multi amplification of the process, the industry need to collaborate and to have a global view of its work. Luciana, to end, what are the economical instruments that we can use to value the bioeconomy that we can use? What is relevant? What do you think? Monica, I think that first of all, when we talk about the sustainable use of it, the first thing that we need to think is to go back to the mechanisms that we had before and to see the things that were already approved by our sector, the technologies and innovations, and when it comes to the models and emissions of gases. This study generates new platforms to do that, the regulation as well. So that owner of land in that area is promoted by the country as well, and it is implemented with different gases, greenhouse effect gases that are emitted, and this can generate income to these families. We can also generate more than that. When we do that, we create new jobs as well. You can start, for example, cultivating plants and small grasses. So more and more we see this change in the bioeconomy. So the first thing indeed is policies for the increment and the change, and other policies are the environmental changes in the land, and you need to really generate better income for these owners, these land owners. Every time we can, we do that, and the populations need to always try to increase that. But we have been seeing a lot of projects of, with systems of agroforest, and we can definitely invest that it is reinvested in the property. And the other one that people talked about as well is that if we do not have policies that put Brazil in a structured manner, the investment in research and development, R&D, is not going to take place. Bioeconomics need to be shared in several manners, and competitive consortiums have a chain that really is valued the most. California has done a lot, and we are just going to do it our way. We need to bring technology to the field, the agribusiness, the forest, to do technology indeed. Nature already does that. And a better incentive for the Amazon region is that in this work, we can have the systemic view, and we do not have a program in the science technology area, but of the country. And we have been growing in a systemic way, identifying where are the contentions and what is the need. That is the policy that we have. With the Federal Confederation of Industry, we could deal more and more with this in the ministry. So it is a way for us to think about these public policies and in the investment of the information.
Perfect. I believe that that is the path. It's not to wait external stimuli. We have to promote and reinvent our participation. I agree fully. Given our time constraints and that we will have to finish in a few minutes, just to finish, I'd like that each of you could, in 1 minute, tell me what is the message that you would like to hand to our spectators in terms of what can we expect from the bioeconomy to improve our country and to guarantee a second wave of growth that we need so much. So let's start by Christian. So I like to say that bioeconomy is already a reality in Brazil before being debated and in this intense circuit of conversations and action. It's already a reality. People of the sugar cane already do this 40 years already. We now incorporated all of this in one single group and defined that that's the bioeconomy. That's good for everyone, and good for Brazil. Special. I think we're in the right path. In our case, the company have a great potential of growth. And I'd like to close talking a little bit about what Luciana mentioned. Yes, the European has this agenda, but I think that the agenda of Brazil is the agenda of Brazil. We have the tendency to copy things from abroad. The worst copy that we can do is the model, the European model. Our model has to be designed. It has to be original because the Brazil is completely different. There are other demands. We have 66%. It's the way that the Portuguese found it here 500 years ago. We have to see what is available. We have 1%. We have an environmental legislation that has been quite debated in Congress and very restricted. The use of land is very restricted. So we have to just do our homework. We have to put our police to go after deforestation and to see how agriculture is developing and to invest our time, our energy, and our knowledge in that of what we call bioeconomy, but it's already something that Brazil does and has been working. That's what I give as my final message. I thank you very much. That's it. I think you're right. Alexandre, please. I'd like to take this opportunity to leave two final messages. I think it's very, I'd like to say that the role of research for bioeconomy is very important, with various definitions of bioeconomy, with the use of new technology and emerging technologies. The message is we cannot think about consolidating and amplifying the bioeconomy without strengthening and without dedicating and financing research and cutting edge technology. Biotechnology and bioeconomy cannot be separated. So one of the messages I'd like to give is that we recognize the role of science and technology and innovation, creating dynamic environments of open research with mechanisms of finance. We have interesting examples in Brazil. Embrapa is credited as members of the ABAPIR, which is of innovation. This allows us to finance projects of innovation. And the other one is that I believe that the future is bio, in the idea that we're strengthening this multifunctional agriculture that creates a series of products and environmental services that are important for energy security, food security, and biodiversity to be explored in new bioactives, new molecules, new products, and we have a normal thing for the advanced biofuel development. We have a very interesting work. We have a series of new technologies, renewable, for airplane fuel and generation ethanol. So these advanced biofuels can be one of the paths. We have this stimulus from the Renova B, so that more and more fuels be energetically superior and environmentally correct. So the CNI monitored an interesting document, and one of the new chemicals. Almost any chemical product can be brought that is from fossil fuels can also be created from biological sources. So we have to invest in research and innovation and to make it cheaper. So that's a point I want to make. We have a lot to advance. The future is bio independently. You can't do it independently of research. So I like to show my enthusiasm as regards bioeconomy. You can count with Embrapa for this development. Thank you very much. Fabiana, a short message. Yes, Monica. So very quickly, I just like to make 3 points very quickly. Firstly, that bioeconomy is a platform to transform companies for them to their activities within planetary resources. So bioeconomy is key for this transformation. The big companies and leading companies like L'Oreal have a key role to bring our partners and our stakeholders into this transformation. It's our duty to be leaders in this, but working in partnerships. This is a lot what we saw in our discussion. And finally, the last point, that Brazil has a very strong potential for bioeconomy. It is already a reality, like we brought it here, but how can we go beyond and bring innovation through Brazilian biodiversity and what we can call the circular bioeconomy? We have to focus also in these renewable bio inputs. So I'd like to thank you very much for your invitation. And for being able to participate in this very rich panel. Thank you for your contribution. That was brilliant and helped us in our discussion. Claudio, very synthetically, please. So very quickly, I would say, firstly, the bioeconomy, in fact, and with words that have already been mentioned, it already exists in Brazil, and it's very strong. So we have a great potential, but it already exists. Technological solutions that already exist in Brazil only exist in Brazil. Of course, we are going to expand this technological movement, this search for innovation. But to mention an example, for example, second generation ethanol in industrial scale has only one plant producing, and that's in Brazil. But having done these 2 points, I agree with what Alexandre mentioned. I think we are missing a general coordination. It would help us a lot to have a roadmap to say exactly where we are, where we want to go, and where we want to get to. So this general coordination could help us a lot in terms of bioeconomy. That would be my main points. Luciana, we finish with you. And do please, quickly, do send your message. Firstly, I'd like to thank for this exchange. The debate is always important to hear all the experiences. I would like to reiterate, I think we mentioned this, that we need to look biodiversity, but before that, we only generate bioeconomy if we take care of it. And to reverse this scenario, the second point that is important, we have to go from yes, we have a bioeconomic potential, but the world is going. So if we are not competitive, we are going to be history. So biotechnology is not being constructed here. It's happening a lot outside Brazil. China, Korea, Asian countries saw that the US and Europe were doing this. They created their own programs and reinvented themselves, and we can see their technology. So the issue is, what is the sustainable biotechnology that we can propose and do to the world and to capture international resources? So that's the invitation. I think it's a platform that has to be coordinated jointly. So congratulations. I read all of the material. It's excellent. I think that's the first step. Yes, we have to create a sustainable bioeconomy and to make an example to the world. I think that's in our DNA and in our heart. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd like to close here saying that it was a pleasure to count with you with this panel. Very enriching, very interesting. And we count with your support in meetings and events of the CNI. Thank you, Monica, for moderating this. And we'd like to thank each one of these that contributed so well to this panel, serving as an incentive for other sectors to practice this sustainable development, and that we have this wave that you mentioned of awareness and bringing a bioeconomy. Thank you very much. In instance, we will have the bio agenda of the CNI soon. Thank you. We're back with the presentation of the CNI bioeconomy agenda, and I invite the president of the Thematic Council for Environment and Sustainability of the CNI, Mr. Marcelo Tomé. Good afternoon. I'd like to greet CNI in the name of the president and congratulations for the initiative. It's a great pleasure to share with all the agenda of our industry for the bioeconomy. We thank you. We can continue this presentation. So thank you very much. I'd like them to share the presentation, please. So bioeconomy is one of the ways we can value the trademark of a product. Brazil has various comparative advantages. In the last 40 years, the world population has practically doubled with a growth of the GDP increased by 4. So we're creating more wealth. Of course, this pressures the extraction of natural resources that has grown 3.4 times. So this demonstrates that despite that we are creating more wealth, we managed to find mechanisms of production that are more sustainable. Until 2060, talking about a future agenda, in the extraction of natural materials can double, increasing to 190 billion tons. And this pressures the emission of greenhouse gases that might increase in up to 43%. And the expectation of the population is that until 2050, the population can grow 26%. So this information demonstrates how much the production and the pressure and the production of natural resources in all of the global production chains. So the concept we have in the industry, which we use a lot, bioeconomy is the generation of wealth and income from the development of products derived from biological resources and with the use of innovative technology. So it's not only the production of the resource, but the production of wealth from that resource through an industrial process, generating good jobs, and that necessarily has to have an innovative with intensive use of technology to guarantee sustainability in its process. Next one. 40% of the global economy is based in products derived from biodiversity. This shows the economic potential and of investment in this segment. And Brazil has various advantages, as, for example, having 12% of the reserves available of fresh water, but especially 20% of the biodiversity of the planet distributed in its 6 main biomes. Next one, please.
Here are some examples in this industrial sector that need to be developed from the pharmacy and bioenergy, and in ethanol and celluloses in Brazil. It is used in the area of pharmaceutical medications, and also the medications that are used in the cosmetics area as well. So the area that is more recognized, like Natura, Boticário, other cosmetics as well. So the economics in Brazil, it's the second most important product in Brazil. So it has impacted more than 2 million reais, and it has a great impact of consumption to give support of agro agribusiness in Brazil, one of the most important things is that we have one of the most important value chain and attribution for the bioeconomic, and more than $150 billion. And we also have the production of the seeds and nuts that deserve attention from all of us in the process of the industry. And the exporters of commodities need to pay close attention, both in the industrial sector and so forth. So you're going to generate income and richness to Brazil. So in the industry, that is where you need to go. So the axes are defined as it was defined here. So the regulatory framework and the primary raw materials are also shown in this area. The investment areas, it's fundamental to promote and ask for the investment of several sectors in innovation that allow us to find the transformation of these resources, these natural resources, and the transformation of the sector and the industry. So the entrepreneurs in the different areas can show a better integration in the research. So the great value of our network can dedicate themselves in the extraordinary work of the Brazilian industry. So in relation to the other factors, so I think that this is going to be in the Brazilian sector as something that can boost our scalability and the importance of the solutions that are built. So the structuring of a governance can coordinate several agents that are linked to the sector, both from the academy and the financial sector as well. So for us to have a better advance in the sector, that is going to be extremely important as well. And the agility of the patent production is really important as well. And the analysis of these patents, it takes more or less 6 years. The European countries and the Americans do this in 2 years. So this compromises our sector because it takes very long for them to be used. So this is fundamental for the respect of the contracts. It's not possible for us to continue with this project if we are not able to win this, to guarantee this investment and for them to produce all of its improvement. The Nagoya decree is being analyzed by the government and it's soon going to be approved. There are many things that are important. So it can be used for several processes in Brazil. The amplification of the use in Brazil, it uses enzymes and microorganisms that make us be closer to the sustainable agenda, not only for the consumers, but also and I reinforce the importance of this process through the network of schools. The human use, the human force can also be used more and more in scalability. And also for the production of these bioproducts, there are several ways of extraction of this product, and we're trying to equalize the access of these inputs, but also the production of these products for us to be able to reach better goals. So for us to be able to find this improvement of the biome, I would also say that we can aggregate the ancestral understanding with the new understanding of this population, both in the Amazon region or the different areas of the Brazilian territory. And these values can be aggregated to our product. These solutions can think about this seasons of each product for each of the product. 100 years ago, we already considered that as being really important. So at the rest of the year, this is one of the examples in Brazil that shows the importance of us recognizing the different cycles of reproduction for us to be able to analyze and to improve the sustainability in our area. So this product is important not only for our market, but also for the price of our availability, and we hope that it is something that we can do more in our market. In regards to our model of strategy, we hope that we strengthen our economic understanding and we value our products more and more, identifying the narrative and the social understanding. Those are possibilities and needs that need to be aggregated to the product, and this can generate an opening of our market, and both environmental and also regarding our regions, different regions of Brazil that have a lower income. So the promotion of it and partnerships for the presence of it in the market, there will be a better market for us to manage the different areas and the improvement of the value chain in this area. So this is something that includes the different researches of the area, and there are several actors that are important for the bioeconomic agenda in Brazil. And the logistic and everything else is determining for the improvement of the logistics, and it competes to our competitiveness to increase with time, and the adaptation of our infrastructure need to be related to the inputs that we have. So we need to expand our awareness and to civilize the consumer, to have bio products that improve with time. Once more, it is very important that we guarantee this movement in this project, in this product, for it to be better accessed by the product, by the consumers, being that for each season, but it is fundamental for the productive processes. We need to mitigate and guarantee a better provision of products and expanding the data of all of the sectors, and the ecosystem that is focused in bioeconomics is like a possibility for us to increase the research in Brazil and the different sectors and actors. So that can definitely be improve our products. And the bioproducts is another strategy for improvement of our agenda. Our action plan is an improvement of our agenda for us to be able to provide a better result to our market and to have a strategy of science and technology based on the microeconomy of Brazil is fundamental. We need to have a coordinated action, and the different production sectors have to invest more and more and map the specialties that we have in the different biomes. So the partnership with the Institutes of Technology, Innovation, Development has to be related to bioeconomy, and everything that we do needs to be related to bioeconomy, identifying the raw materials to guarantee that they are suitable for the environment protection. We need to emphasize in the industrial improvement in all of the regions to minimize the greenhouse gas emission and we can improve the circularity of this work, and together we can find better and more effective ways of dealing with this issue. Thank you so much for the space to talk today. Thank you very much, Marcelo, for your information that were provided in your presentation in bioeconomics to strengthen our work here in our country. Now we're going to have a small break, and that for 2 p.m. we're going to have COP15 initiative. We're going to wait for you until then. Thank you.